Hey everyone, and welcome back to Don't Overthink It. I'm your host Donnie, and today we have a special guest with us, Coach Pua out of the, I guess you would say the Southwest region of the United States. Coach Pua is a high school football coach. He does a lot of great things for his community and his school. And Coach, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Kolone Pua, like was stated. I coach in South San Francisco, which is about 10 minutes away from San Francisco, a little closer towards the airport. I feel like just wanted to come on and talk about some things. I feel like I have some pretty unique things to talk about. Like my coaching staff is actually just my dad, me, and my brothers, which is pretty unique. You don't really hear about that pretty often. I've played football for about 10 years, from Pop Warner all the way up until my senior year in high school. And then 2 years after that, I was given the opportunity to help out my former head coach do a rebuild at another school, developed my skills there. And then I came back to my alma mater. We won a section championship. We lost in the NorCal semifinal, so one game away from state. And just a second rebuild that I was a part of. And yeah, that's pretty much it about me.
Well, that's pretty interesting. My story's kind of similar. I went to one of my nephew's not Little League, but Pop Warner practices, and he's like, "Hey, coach," or "Hey, uncle, can you come help me with some stuff?" And so I went out there to help him with some defensive line drills, and went back out there the following day, couple days, and the following week after that, it's just kind of like, "Hey, you want to help us, coach?" So just kind of voluntarily went in, and next thing you know, 7 years later, out here still coaching high school football. So similar situation, but started off with the youth program and then moved up into the high school. So you're out of the California area. What's football like over there? I mean, I know baseball's a big thing in California.
Yeah,
so basketball.
Baseball here it's great. There's a little league tournament in Cooperstown. They play out in New York, and I think South San Francisco, like our region, like our area, they've been placing in the top 20 for baseball. And football-wise, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like we have a lot of setbacks. Public schools, we can't recruit per se. There's rules that restrict that. Private schools can. There's no real feeder systems, especially after, the movie Concussion came out. But even in general, back then when I was playing, there was no real feeder systems into high schools. We have a couple Pop Warner teams, but I want to say maybe only one of them was a real feeder system because there was only one high school in that city. And one of the big differences I want to feel like is since, California, it's pretty populated, and the cities, we actually have, sometimes there's more than one high school in a city. For example, for us, South San Francisco, we have two. So they actually split the student population based on where you're living in that city. And it's a little bit of a hindrance. Like, we don't get too much of the talent and stuff. Like, a lot of them, obviously, you want to go to the private schools, get a better education. And, public schools were still kind of, numbers-wise for football, it's been dwindling. We picked up a little bit more, but it still falls a little short. So, and then we actually just merged with another league. So now I think we were about 18 schools. We're now at about 33 schools now competing in 5 different leagues. So the competition there, it's a little rough, even for like the I want to say what we call the C League. It's grueling. So instead of you actually playing like stronger schools, it's more of an endurance game. Like you'll have one preseason game, another one which would be your rivalry game depending on if they're in your league or not, and then you get your bye week, and then it's 7 to 8 weeks straight of just football.
So you were talking about your league. You said you had 5 schools. That's just within your district, correct? The 5 schools?
Oh no, so the 5, so our, it's a little different over here. So the leagues are actually based off of power rankings. So there's 5. We have the Bay Division, which is like the top 6 schools. De Anza, which is like a B plus. The Ocean, which is about a B. El Camino, which is about like a B minus, somewhere around there. And then we have the Lake. I think that's all 5 of them. So the Lake would be like the C tier. And it's kind of complicated when it comes to playoffs because you do have guaranteed spots. And then there's also like, for right now, the B divisions, they're debating on how we actually get ours. We do get one guaranteed, and then the other one is based off of rankings from Cal Prep, which is what we use for playoffs, head-to-head competitions, and the common opponent. So yeah, it's a little complex over here.
So that sounds like a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So the last school that I coached with, they're at 8-man. They're in a 1A. So our region, their region covers the majority of like northeastern Arizona, like up in that area. So we got like there's a total of 6 schools in our region. So and those are all region games. So when you go and play against the region team, you're traveling distance-wise. The nearest one to us, I would have to say, would be like over in Williams, Arizona, which is like an hour and 15 minutes away. So we tend to travel a lot when we play the teams in our region, and vice versa. The teams travel a lot to play in us for region games and stuff. But being such a small 1A school, we have to go out and reach those other teams, or we're playing 2A teams as regular fill-in games. So the regions they're interesting here in Arizona, even at the 2A level, unless you're in a populated area like Phoenix or something, where you do have those 5 or 6 schools in the city. It's definitely hard to get games that are close to you. You're traveling. The competition's a little bit better when you travel down to the bigger cities with the smaller schools. They have more students there that they can reach out to. And I know you mentioned something about playing. I forgot what you said. I'm just gonna scratch that question. But so, almost it sounds like you're almost playing almost like Ironman football with what you're talking about, because you said you have the schools are populated, the population of the school is depending on where you live at and segregated and divided up into sections and stuff. So,
yeah. So
I'm assuming your team's probably between 40 to 60 people, 60 athletes.
Yeah, I'd say for our varsity and JV altogether, it's about 60.
Okay.
So
that's
you
pretty
usually
good size.
have about 30 and 30, if we're lucky.
That's a pretty good size, yeah. When I was coaching at a 2A level, my JV team had 16 to 18 JV players.
Mm-hmm.
And we were playing both sides the whole entire game. And those boys ended up becoming tough little football players. So
that's 100%.
It's hard to do that.
Yeah,
it's hard to do that when you have kids. When you're limited on kids is not very good.
Yeah, what we try to do, since my brother's the defensive coordinator, we kind of do like a draft with our kids. Like he'll say, okay, I want these 4 kids specifically will only play defense. And
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, you have those 4. I'm going to take these 4. They're only going to play on offense. And then we kind of just alternate the rest of the team and stuff. Like, let's say if this guy's a little more on the defensive side, we can put him on offense, and we can kind of do something like an active rest thing. Like, let's say if we have a linebacker that's just a freak athlete, but we do need somebody that needs to block, we can throw him at tight end, because the way that our offensive scheme is, the tight ends are 90% of the time either they're double teaming 90% of the time. The other 10%, they're going up to the next level, so it's not too much strain on that person.
Yeah, we did something similar like that. Like the quarterbacks would not play defense. And, wide receivers would not play defense. Although we would need the wide receivers to be the defensive back and stuff like that. So I understand what you're saying when you limit the kids, which side of the ball they're going to play on, which side are they going to benefit the most as a student athlete, what's going to get them the best playing time, what's going to help the team, but all in general, what's going to get them the experience that they need to be able to work as a team and stuff. So like I understand that when you get that, and then like drafting him, like, oh well, this guy, like you said, this guy's a better linebacker than he is maybe a tight end or a tackle or a guard or something. But something that caught my attention when you were talking about that too. We had a quarterback who could long snap the ball like nobody's business. I mean, he was better than the original long snapper, I would say, that I had picked out. And so I used him as a long snap, and he would be one of my gunners or my headhunters to go down to snap the ball. I mean, he would snap that ball and he would be downfield, within half a second. I mean, freak athlete right there, pretty good. But seeing different things but then he never really played defense either. He was mostly offense and long snap. It's, got to transition. What's going to benefit him and the team probably should have been on the defensive side. It would benefit him a lot more than just snapping that ball. So
yeah, what we like to do sometimes is, like, if we do have a quarterback that is like, if he's like a dual threat person or somebody that we might actually need on the defensive side, we just stick him at free safety. Defensively, we always want our smartest guy to be the free safety, and if it happens to be the quarterback, then we just throw him out there. Sometimes it depends on how the quarterback is. There's different ways that we do it. Sometimes the quarterback will be the free safety on first and second downs only, or he'll play all 3 downs, and then on 4th down, or if they're in the red zone and stuff, we'll take him out and put somebody else in there. But there's always like some different ways that you can just play around with your kids, and as long as you don't strain them, I think it's fine.
Yeah, but then again, you have those freak. I don't want to jinx anybody or anything, but you have those freak accidents where you have one player playing multiple positions on all 3 sides of the ball, and they come up rolling an ankle or something, and then you're like, what am I going to do now? So I look as a coach, I look into, we need to benefit. We need some way to benefit the kids, to keep them healthy, to keep them doing what they love to do, which is play the game. So
right.
I mean, that's something I consider when I'm out there on a field coaching. I was like, who's going to be the best spot? And honestly, the younger guys, getting them that special teams experience will help. I think will help them with everything else. I mean, because you have sophomores coming in playing, so we line up in the shield pump formation. So all they really got to do is maybe give a 2-second block and get downfield and work on tackling. That's pretty much what the front 7 have to do. In a nutshell, that's what they pretty much have to do is, make a 2-second block and then get downfield, or even just put a hand on someone and then get downfield. So I like putting the younger guys in that to get them that experience of the varsity level. Just so they when they get hit the first time and they're like, oh, this is real. They're not in shock or anything like that. You mentioned earlier that your coaching staff is your family.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. So my dad's been coaching for like 20 plus years. He was the president of our Pop Warner team, and my mom was the vice president. So when it came to football, it was really just, Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday we had practices. Saturday we're up at 5 in the morning getting the field set up on home games for the younger teams and stuff. And it was cool because when we were younger, around 5 or 6 years old, my dad would just take us out on the football field. So now he has a free babysitting service because, I have 30 older brothers that are just watching us and stuff. Like, they'll let us do drills with them. And we used to, there's little pull sleds that you have, you put a plate on there and then you just drag it across the field. So my dad would make us actually sit on those while the linemen would just drag it with the extra weight that they had. And so he's the head coach. He's the main guy. He's very lax with his coaching and stuff. He'll step in when he needs to, and sometimes he'll have to break me and my brothers up when it comes to making decisions on play calls and things like that. And then, so for me, I'm the offensive coordinator. I also have to do huddle, so I'm in charge of huddle. My middle brother is our defensive coordinator. He played for Concordia University out in Chicago, and he learned a lot of defensive stuff, so he came down and started to be our defensive coordinator. Our youngest brother, he's actually our JV head coach, and then my older brother is the offensive coordinator for JV. So all of us it's 24/7 football. Even on vacations and stuff, my sister hates it because we would be in Disneyland sitting at our hotel and stuff, and we're having meetings about football, and it's her birthday, and she's like, okay guys, for just 20 minutes no football. And we're like, all right. And then maybe 5 minutes later we're back into our conversations on who's going where, what's this guy playing, what offensive scheme we're running for the year, and things like that. And honestly, we don't really argue, which is surprising on the field. There was one incident where me and my brother, that's the defensive coordinator, we did get into an argument. But the main reason why we were arguing was because the team that we were playing was our prior team that we helped rebuild. So we knew the kids, we knew their offensive scheme, we knew their defensive scheme, we knew how to pick them apart. It's just that our kids, it wasn't clicking. And so we got into an argument there. My dad had to pull us off the field, shoot us out in the locker room, and then we came back. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but, it's what happens in a rebuild sometimes.
Yeah. Now, you talk about rebuilding, and that's probably one of the hardest steps when it comes to being a head coach, is rebuilding a program
100%.
that's had a bad history of not having success. So one of the schools that I coached for, they had a new coach pretty much almost every year. So it was a new program, new system for every year for about 5 years prior to that. And we had one guy come in, and he turned things around. And fortunately, he was there for about 3 years. He's a good coach, good guy. Loved his philosophy, loved everything about his coaching style. And just when I came on as his staff, because he came to the youth program and he's like, hey, I'm looking for coaches to help with the high school coaching. I was talking to my wife, and I was like, this might be a good opportunity to, advance it a little bit. Because I never really thought about being a coach until my nephew came and talked to me and asked for help. And then I was like, yeah, this is probably something I could do. And then from the time I started with that coach coming in at the high school level, just kind of took off from there. I was like, this is fun. This is exciting. This is something that I could probably look forward to doing in the future. And just the behind the scenes of what happens from rebuilding a program is insane. There's a lot going on, a lot of working parts. There's a lot of people involved, a lot of things that people don't know about coming into a rebuilding program. Being a younger coach, what was it like rebuilding that program and then having to step away from it?
Oh yeah, so the first program that that rebuilt. Like I said earlier, I was truly blessed that my head coach, when I was in high school, asked me to come down to their JV and stuff to coach them and help those guys develop. Which honestly I feel like was really, really important, not just for like my development, but for like the kids too. Like, there's not that many kids around here that have played football before high school, and it really shows. And so that rebuild was about 3 years. These kids, like, they were extremely smart, which is very contrast to what I was used to. We didn't really have the smartest kids, but we were brawn over brain where I was playing at. And so adjusting the coaching style to that was a little different. They weren't really responding to the way that, the school that I was originally from, they weren't responding to like, tough love kind of things and stuff like that. You actually had to like, talk to them, let them know, like, give them their kudos when needed and things like that. So adjusting to that, it took a little bit, but we started getting success with that. We moved up a division with them, and honestly, once we felt like they were good to go and stuff, like, that's when we realized that we wanted to my dad and my brothers and I, like, we all decided, like, we've done enough for these kids. They're ready, they're in good shape, and it's time to like go into something new, which was coming back to the high school that we're at now, which was our second rebuild. And that rebuild was something else, because of the way that it started, it was ridiculous. So the head coach before my head coach, who I had for a couple years, he decided to take the program back, and with the stipulation of he will give the team to my dad the year after. So this was the 2022 season. Yeah, 2022 season was when our coach came back, and it was bizarre to me, because when we were there from about 2017 was the last year that we were actually pretty good. And so there was a stretch of 4 to 5 years not winning a single game. And it was heartbreaking, like, just seeing something that you were a part of, something that you grew up like watching, just be dwindled and stuff. And honestly, it hurt, because when we're with our first rebuild team, the kids would ask, what high school did you go to? And I would say, I went to South City. And these kids would laugh at me, and they're like, they're terrible. Like, why would you go there and stuff like that? And like, that was really heartbreaking for us. And back at South City with our rebuild, we actually got bullied off the field by the student body. So, if somebody were to tell you, right, being from like the older crowd and stuff, if somebody were to tell you that the student body, like the vice president of the high school, bullied the jocks off of a football field when they're supposed to be on the football field, because it's the football team, you'd say that's absurd. You'll never hear that, but it ended up happening to us. And so that was a very interesting moment that we've had. And also I also coach shot put and discus for high school too. So in that spring of 2022, I came in, told them I'm also going to be coaching football, and I had kids asking, why would you come back and try to coach these guys? Like, they're terrible, like they have no coaching and stuff like that. And I just told them, I'm here because I build champions. and they're like, I don't think you can build champions here. And I said, that's my job. I build champions. And sure enough, the next year we ended up winning our section championship, which was the first one since the 80s. So yeah, rebuilding that was tough, but we got through it. And now we're the last group of the losing seasons, they just graduated and stuff. I'm grateful that they got to get their rings. And now the senior class is the first freshman group that we actually got from the rebuild. And it's everything, all of our culture, all of our values and stuff, they're now implemented into them. And so it was tough, but I think it paid off a lot now, looking back at it.
Okay, so you're the offensive coordinator for your team. What's your favorite system to run?
So for me, I was raised as a fly sweep under center person. I grew up with that system. I learned it from 6, and then all the way up until about recently was when we were running it. But my favorite offense, I want to say, is the gun rocket. Blair Hebert, not sure if you heard of him. His system, it caught my attention. I was, in the rabbit hole of YouTube, and I see the tagline, faster than the fly offense. And I was wondering, there's no way. What is this? Clicked on his video, and he's saying, this is something that we're doing. It has very similar things to the fly sweep, but it's out of the shotgun formation. He tweaks a bunch of things to make it, and the tweaks actually do make sense. And so that's something that I like using, because it's nicknamed the son of the fly, and I like to consider myself a son of the fly offense. And also, we do also run the power T, the Delaware T, which has been picking up a lot of steam lately. UCLA ran it against Cal Berkeley, and it took a little bit of convincing for my kids and to actually commit to, because we do have a lot of fast receivers and stuff, but with our core values and stuff, with our culture and stuff, even the receivers, they're pulling themselves out and they're yelling, get the power T out there, we can run that against them and stuff like that. But overall, power T and the gun rocket are my 2 go-to offenses.
Those sound like good choices. I know the wing T, power T, it's all. I believe my understanding, it's all kind of in the same realm of it. You have your big old lineman out front, and you just push that line.
Yeah. And
you gain yards. So yeah, that's something I would go to. I think if I had the bodies to move a line like that, I would definitely go to that route. But I've started to like the triple option out of the gun, kind of.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen run the past 5-6 years, and that's something that's grown on me. It's I've never really liked it as a more of a ground and pound type person, but
right
when I started teaching it and coaching it, it's just kind of it grew on me. So that's something that I would consider that my number one. And then, like I said, the ground power would be the next one. The power I, power T. So, another question for you right now. What's the defining story behind your work? What made you do what you do? What got you into coaching? I know you mentioned a little bit of it earlier, but what is your why? I guess you could say, as we tell the kids, what's your why for being here?
For me, it's just giving back to the community. That's one of them, and also like just the type of kids that we have. We're pretty low income. A lot of the parents are blue collar workers and stuff, and honestly, what we try to do is just have them better than who we were as kids, because me and my brothers, we all went to South City, our high school, and now we're coaching there, and our goal is just for them to be better than us.
What's your why for being here? Like, what brings you to do what you do?
Yeah, it's honestly just the kids. Like where we're from, we're very blue collared. A lot of parents are working 2 jobs and stuff. The Bay Area is extremely expensive. But when it comes to the kids and stuff, like we've experienced everything that they've experienced in high school, because we actually went to that high school, and it kind of, in a way, it benefits those kids, because sometimes they'll say, "Oh, Dr. or Mr. Appleseed is doing this and that, and he's being unfair." And then we're saying, "Oh, you mean Mr. Appleseed, the guy who used to help me out and tutor me after school every single day? You're talking about that, Mr. Appleseed? Well, maybe because XYZ." And like that connection with the kids like makes it a little bit easier for them, because a lot of these kids, they don't trust adults. They feel like everybody's against them and stuff like that. So for us to give them that small pocket of like a sanctuary where they can be themselves, they can understand that not everybody's against you. There's reasons why the adults want you to be a specific way and things like that. And the end goal for us, it's the NFL is a secondary thing. We want them to get a free education, because that's what they're really pushing for. A lot of these kids are very family oriented and stuff, and they don't want to watch their parents working all the time and stuff. They want to have time where they can relax with them just for a little bit and stuff. So for them to go to school for free and help their parents that way, that's a very big motivation for these kids. So for us, what we want to do is like we try to implement that, explain to them that they are students first before athletes, because they're student athletes, and just giving them that, the pat on the back, when they feel like nobody else is with them, they have at least us to be there for them.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, getting that education and getting that place to turn to is a big thing nowadays. It's a lot of kids don't have that, and sometimes they say that the kid needs the program more than the program needs the kid. And those cases are true in a lot of areas. I mean, we've had a couple of kids that needed the program. If not, they'd be in jail. They'd be doing something that they shouldn't be doing. But yeah, it takes a lot. It takes a big person to be a coach. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to be somebody that someone can rely on when it comes to, especially the younger like kids and stuff like that. A lot of the kids have those trust issues that you were talking about. Especially doing it in a bigger area like you do it. I'm sure you guys come across a lot of the hard, I don't know how to put it, but you guys come a lot of things that make it hard to coach kids daily. I mean,
oh yeah, 100%. Like I actually have a kid right now. He works at In-N-Out, and so he would come to practice. He'd do all the work and stuff, and like he's one of the kids that was 100%. Every adult is against him, and it took me. He's a senior now, and it took me 3 years for him just to understand where everybody else is coming from. Like we don't want him to be just so hard-headed and stuff, because there are people out there that actually do want to help him and stuff. And now he has a 3.5 cumulative GPA. He works, I want to say he works 30 hours at In-N-Out and still comes to practice. And when he comes to practice, this guy's like one of our leaders and stuff. Like kids will say, "Oh, I don't want to do this," and blah blah blah. And he's saying, I'm working, to have food for myself, and I want to be part of this team. And you guys can't come to practice because your pinky hurts or because your girlfriend's making you upset. Like, come on, guys, like, pick it up. So having that one person plant the seed for like, being committed and stuff and changing your ways is very important.
It's a mindset, you gotta. It's definitely a mindset that you have to have. You want to have to. It's something that you want, and you got to be around a lot of those like-minded people who want the same thing that you want. And it's amazing to see a turnaround like that in kids who come from a background or have a story like that. Seeing them put, like you said, 30 hours of work in school and then practice. That's a lot to take on as a 16, 17-year-old kid. Still in high school. That's a lot for them. That's a lot to ask for from them. But somehow they do it. They make it work, and they're successful at it. So, I tip my hat to that young man. I hope he does well in life, and I hope he goes a long ways. So he's got my support. You let him know that. So
I will.
She's her story. So what's your north star when things get tough? Like, what's something that you turn to, like when you're in a rough situation in a game? What's I guess it's what's a go-to play, or what gets you motivation to get back up and to keep pushing through those tough times, game wise, coaching wise, when you come into a program, or even the beginning of a year when like, oh well, this kid is not going to be making it, grades, or grades take an effect in school and stuff like that, and you end up having to lose a player because of it. What goes through your mind? What gets you back focused?
From a school that actually has problems with grades and stuff like that, what we like to do is we like to think of the Persian army, the 10,000 immortals. So I'm pretty sure you watched the movie 300, right? The guys with the chrome masks that look like ninjas and stuff. So the whole story behind them is they're always 10,000 strong, no more, no less. If one of them is taken down, there's another one who has the same set of skills, who's just as good as the rest of that army. And we always just say that, next man up. If this person, we're actually having a little bit of that issue this season right now. One of our guys went on vacation before he did his finals, so he's not going to be with us, and we're already like, okay, well, this guy's going to replace him, and then we're just going to see how things go from there. And every time when we're in like a tough spot and stuff, it's really just what the kids think. Like if I'm drawing a blank and stuff, usually what I do is I just throw in a bread and butter play and hope that the defense gives me something that I can expose the next play. But if that doesn't happen, usually we just get a quick timeout, breathe, and then that's when the kids start showing their experience. I want to say 85 to 90% of the time that my players have called their own play, we've scored. So I have a lot of trust with them and stuff. If they see something that I don't see and they're asking for a specific play, I let them run it. And it also goes, I do use verbal commands for no huddle things, to whether either flip the play, run the same play, or do hard counts and stuff. And there's been times where I have a running back and we're running the wedge at the power T, and he'll be maybe 2 yards shy of the first down, and now it's 4th and 2, and he's getting himself up, gives the ball to the referee, and he's already lining up yelling, again. Even everybody's just lined up again. We run it, we get the first down, and it happens pretty often and stuff. So it's a really cool thing to see that like these kids are learning, they're adapting, and that's coming from the first year of our rebuild, where I wanted to see where their football IQ was. I asked them what cover 3 was, and somebody raised their hand and said, "That's a trick question. There is no cover 3." So from going from there to a couple years later where they're calling their own plays and stuff and being successful at it, it's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Shows a lot of you as a coaching staff of being able to teach it the right way to where they understand it, and then them being able to implement it in game situations. That's a big thing coming from as an outsider looking into a program. If I was to see that and like, oh well, he didn't call a play, his team called a play, that would be this coach is doing something right here. He's teaching the right program to the right kids, and they're picking up on it and they're learning to implement that into their gameplay. That would be a plus. If I was a scout and I was to come over and look at that and I saw that, I would be like, okay, positive check for the kids, positive check for the coach. Just kudos to you on being able to do that. A lot of coaches spend time with their students or their athletes, and it takes them years to develop that, 3-4 years to develop that trust in one another to be able to call a play on the field and run that play successfully. So I feel like you guys got something going this year.
Oh yeah, we do.
So what's a recent innovation that excites you? I mean, coming into the season's coming up. Well, okay, so the official season's coming up. What's exciting you coming into this new year? Is any of your classes standing out? Your junior class standing out? The freshmen coming in, are they? Give us a little bit of background of what's going to excite you coming this year.
Actually, I think the main thing that I'm really excited about is going to be my JV team. Last year they went 1-9. Positive side of the 1-9 was that one win was our crosstown rivals. But to see them grow within the span of a year from them being freshmen to sophomores was astonishing to me. We don't let the freshmen lift anymore. We want them working more on their technique and stuff, especially when they don't come from football programs. They're just coming fresh, green as grass. So there was a lot of inexperience last year. None of the sophomores, so the junior class now, none of them actually played the year before when they were freshmen too. So for those guys to lead, it was really rocky. But now the freshman class that are now sophomores, the amount of change and how much they absorbed within that span of a year is just crazy to me, because all of them are benching at least 135 pounds, and that's without any knowledge prior to weightlifting and stuff, and they're absorbing varsity level plays on both offensively and defensively. We just last week I decided to let them have a whole offensive day dedicated to the JV team, and they're running the plays just as good as varsity. Our varsity, we do joint practices for stretching individuals, and then sometimes if we need the JV to help us out, we go varsity and JV. But the JV kids, just the way that they were running the ball, the way that they were reading on defense, it was, you couldn't even tell that that's the same team from the year before. And then also for my seniors, my quarterback, this kid is the best way that we can explain it is he's basically a Brock Purdy. He knows what he's doing. He's very smart, gets the ball to the athletes and stuff. And occasionally he'll run his own plays and stuff, and he makes the right calls. I've been working with him for 3 years, and his sophomore year, he came out and we were telling him, hey, there's a possibility that you might be coming up to varsity because of the experience that he has with me, because I did have him as a freshman when I was in JV. He was running my offense, so he already had the experience of the offense. And the senior class, the senior quarterbacks weren't doing too hot, so we decided to bring him up, and he actually brought us to the championship. He brought us to one game shy of the state championship. So seeing what he does this year is exciting too.
So it sounds like you guys have your hands full with a great team coming up, and then with the talent and experience that you guys have now in the upperclassmen, it sounds like you guys have a pretty good shot of making it a decent way in the playoffs. And then you guys sounds like you guys gonna have a heck of a season too.
Yeah, we actually ever since we took over the program, when they found out that my dad was the head coach, we've had calls both wanting and not wanting to play us. And we have a huge target on our back every year since then. Everybody wants a piece of us, and we're kind of like the dark horses and stuff, because you never know what you're going to get with us. Me with my offense, it changes every year. It depends on what I have and stuff, and that's really what you have to do around the Bay Area. And you can't always have the 5-star linemen who are 6'5". Maybe your best lineman is 5'3", 200 pounds soaking wet, but that guy will knock somebody's head off when he's pulling. And that's really what we have to base everything around on and stuff. We do have core plays that everybody needs to know, but other than that, everything is basically, this guy can do this, so we're going to let him do that. Just give the ball to the athletes in green and let them be athletes. That's our motto offensively.
Sometimes that's all you can do. Sometimes depending on situations. So
yeah.
Well, Coach, it was a pleasure talking with you. And like I mentioned earlier, is there some kind of inspirational quote or something that you want to share with the listeners and stuff? If not, I got one, and we can.
Yeah, I do have one. It's kind of a joke that I say, but it's pretty serious as well. As you can't play football if you can't spell it, which basically means you have to prioritize being a student first. You're a student athlete. Student is first, and your athleticism and stuff, it can only take you so far. You gotta have to have the mindset. You have to have the grades and stuff, because I'm pretty sure you've seen the videos of the quarterbacks breaking down what this play is, what was the specifics, why did you do that, who, this, that, and the third. And also in school and stuff too, because when college recruiters come in, the first 2 questions are, how are his grades and how is this guy in class? And if we as a coaching staff lie to that school, that's going to jeopardize the future for the rest of the kids that we have. And then that's one. And then the one that we emphasize a lot, and it's part of our culture, is it takes a village to raise a kid. Because I'm of Samoan descent, and we're very, very family oriented. An auntie or an uncle can discipline their parents' kids and vice versa and stuff like that. And we try to have our team raised as a family and stuff. All the morals that we have with my family, we kind of implement that with those kids, and the kids really pick it up. And I feel like that's what's the strongest thing about our team, is just the core value of being family oriented and working together side by side.
Yeah, I feel like that's very important, being able to set your differences aside and be able to work as a family, as a unit, and as well as implementing your education over being an athlete. Man, if I could have my daughter listen to that quote over and over and over again, because she's like, I don't have any homework. I was like, this is like the fifth day in a row that you've come home without any homework. You know?
Right.
You didn't come home with homework last week. You didn't come home with. When I was in school playing and going to school, I had homework like quite frequently, and it's like, you know. But she's a good kid. Her grades are, you know, A's and B's, so I can't complain too much about that. But she just hates doing schoolwork and stuff. So it's just, yeah, I feel it. So, well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on, and you know, had a lot of fun talking with you.
Yeah, same here.
For you guys out there listening, we'd like to thank you for tuning in, and hope to see you next time on Don't Overthink It. Remember, stay safe and don't overthink it.